In the dead of night, 48 trucks thundered across Burkina Faso's dusty roads, silent, concealed, and packed with something no one expected. By sunrise, whispers spread like wildfire. An operation had been launched under Captain Ibrahim Traoré's orders, and shocking details began to leak. At the center of it all, an unexplained order, a signature no one dared believe, and the unthinkable involvement of the United States. This wasn't just about trucks. It was about power, survival, and a continent tired of being played like a pawn. The question hung heavy: who really signed that order? Burkina Faso has long stood at the crossroads of Africa's struggle against exploitation. Gold mines, fertile lands, and strategic borders have made it both a jewel and a target. For decades, foreign powers profited while ordinary citizens bore the weight of poverty and violence. When Captain Ibrahim Traoré, at just 36, took leadership, many expected another soldier in uniform. Instead, they saw a man determined to change the script. The trucks appeared at a fragile time. Months of tightened security, whispers of sabotage, and intelligence reports pointing to infiltration had already set the country on edge. Then came the shocking revelation: a 48-truck order, traced back to external actors, carried under the radar, and linked to resources no one expected to move that way. But the twist wasn't just in the movement, it was in the paperwork. The order carried a signature. Officials tried to bury it, but insiders whispered it belonged to a name connected to Washington. Suddenly, Burkina Faso wasn't just facing hidden enemies within. It was pointing at a global superpower. As rumors spread, people wondered, were these trucks part of aid, weapons, or something far more sinister? And why was Traoré willing to expose it when the risks could shatter the fragile stability of his country? The first reports emerged from villagers who saw the trucks. At first glance, they looked like supply convoys, covered tarpaulins, military escorts, no logos. But sharp-eyed farmers noticed the license plates weren't local. Something felt off. Digging deeper, investigative journalists uncovered documents showing the 48-truck convoy wasn't approved by Burkina Faso's ministries. Instead, the order was traced to a foreign procurement channel, one often used for humanitarian shipments. The paperwork looked official, yet details didn't add up. The dates conflicted, the authorizations were missing, and the routing bypassed standard customs checks. Then came the bombshell. Buried in the documentation was a signature linked to an American defense contractor operating under U.S. security agreements in West Africa. Whether deliberate or forged, the effect was the same. Burkina Faso could point to the world's most powerful nation as complicit in a covert operation on its soil. As citizens digested the revelation, emotions boiled. Many had lived through years of promises, aid convoys that never reached villages, contracts that enriched elites but left schools crumbling. Now they felt their country was being tested again. The trucks symbolized more than cargo. They represented a tug-of-war over Africa's resources and sovereignty. Traoré's government quickly seized the trucks, sparking outrage abroad. Reports claimed they carried industrial mining equipment destined for private concessions controlled by foreign firms. If true, it meant Burkina Faso's natural wealth was being stripped right under its people's noses. International reactions were swift. Western diplomats called for clarity and accused Burkina Faso of misinformation. Yet ordinary Africans saw a familiar pattern: powerful nations denying, deflecting, and dismissing. Online, hashtags erupted. Who signed the order and Tours Traoré operation trended across the continent. For many, it wasn't just about Burkina Faso. It was about whether Africa could finally confront centuries of extraction and manipulation. And in Traoré, some saw a leader unafraid to say the quiet part out loud. The climax came when Traoré addressed the nation in a tense broadcast. His words were sharp, measured, and filled with quiet fury. He didn't name names directly, but he laid out the evidence: the trucks, the signatures, the bypassed routes, and the undeniable presence of foreign fingerprints on Burkina soil. Then came the moment that shook listeners across the globe. Traoré held up a document, blurred for security but stamped with an American contractor's seal. "We will not," he declared, "be a dumping ground for secret deals. We will not let our wealth leave on wheels in the dead of night. The audience gasped, not just in Burkina Faso, but across Africa. This wasn't a whisper campaign or a buried report. It was a leader openly calling out a superpower in real time. Outside the country, panic spread. Analysts scrambled to explain, governments rushed into damage control, and media outlets tried to downplay the story. But the image of those 48 trucks and Traoré's defiance couldn't be erased. At that moment, Burkina Faso wasn't a small West African nation. It was a stage where the world's hidden games were suddenly spotlighted. The trucks, once symbols of hidden power, became emblems of resistance. Citizens gathered at checkpoints demanding transparency. Across Africa, leaders who usually spoke cautiously began to voice support. Even in the diaspora, protests erupted, calling out decades of silent exploitation. The United States denied involvement, insisting it was a misunderstanding. But in politics, perception often outweighs denial. For ordinary Africans, the signature symbolized something bigger, the arrogance of outside powers who thought no one would notice. In the weeks that followed, Burkina Faso doubled down on sovereignty. Traoré's government announced new checks on foreign convoys, tighter resource contracts, and an independent inquiry into decades of exploitation. The message was clear. No more silent signatures in hidden corners. The story of the 48 trucks didn't end with one broadcast. It ignited a wave of questions. How many other convoys had slipped through borders? How many other signatures lay hidden in archives? And how long had Africa's riches been leaving without a fight? One image lingered most. A line of seized trucks baking under the Sahel sun, guarded not by foreign soldiers but by Burkinabe youth who refused to look away. The world may argue about who signed the order, but for the people of Burkina Faso, the trucks marked a turning point. They weren't just reclaiming cargo. They were reclaiming history. And the lingering question remains, if one small nation can uncover the truth, what happens when the entire continent demands answers?